How awesome is this? There's 5 people here already. This is like amazing. This is the first time I've just started a stream and there's 6 people. How awesome. I'm truly touched by this. This is awesome. So completely blank. I didn't write anything down for what to talk about today, but I know I've got a fair idea. Um, Another thing too, I usually do these Sunday streams because it's a time when I can do it. And my dad's out at the moment, so if I hear the slightest sound, I'll just disappear and I go, "Oh, you'll hear me. I'm just looking after mum." So just a warning there. Well, just letting you know. Um, it has been a tough few days, and that the thumbnail for and the description for today was, I've got good news, is that my friend that I thought I'd lost it's not lost. It's and in fact it's probably going to be a stronger, better relationship moving forward. And it was very distressing for me um, when I felt like I'd lost this person. And I didn't sleep at all Friday night and only got 2 hours sleep. And then there was some hope the next day that there was reconnection. It's good to see lots of people here chatting and stuff already, so that's good. So what I said in the description was I'm not going to talk in details because I protect people's privacy and stuff. But this person was someone that just came into my life, and we connected in a way where we were able to share um, our own struggles and our own living things to do with our lives, and we shared music and funny memes, and we had some great experiences where over the last few months we really were in each other's presence and were able to enjoy that despite the turmoil in our own lives. And that's why it was such a shock for me, when it got to the point where it was like we were never going to speak to each other again, and um, that's why I'm so, when I started the stream, you would have noticed it would have seemed I'm in a really bad place, and um, things have turned around in the last, just the last hour. Things have gotten even better. So I I'm so glad to still have this friend because I thought I'd lost them, and that I don't have many friends. You know, in I have over the years I pushed myself away from my social network groups, and I still had people, like friends that we would catch up and stuff. But it it really over many years dwindled, and it became, and so loneliness crept in, and I dealt with it most of the time in a good way, where I could not be, I accepted it, Same with intimacy and having a woman or a girlfriend or a wife or whatever. 'Cause that's what I would like. But if that never happens, it may never happen, and I accept that. Um, and it's just as painful for friendship because friends can be the things, you know. And so since starting this channel, you know, I've found new friends. I consider you all my friends now, and we get to share some time together. You know, I do a regular stream, which is usually on a Sunday, and then I'll sporadically stream when the time happens. You know, when it feels right. And every time it's just been amazing to these conversations have just been the best thing. You know, so um, I was very upset, you know, about thinking I'd lost friends, and or this particular friend, and then I'm now happy that things have sorted out and corrected, and it's still very painful, but you know, I what happened yesterday. So um, as I've been talking about, this is me. The start of my streams, I document my healing process and what I've been going through. Um, uh, 2 weeks ago, I went through a processing of two traumas. Um, well, not 2 weeks; it was a week and a bit ago. And so what I did was is I recorded the session, and I asked permission with my psychologist to do that, and then so that I could have a copy of my own um, recounting of this. It was my way of processing, and so that I could then listen back to it. And I've listened back to it once, and that was very healing. And so now where I'm at with my journey is that there's been I'm now at another part. On It's like at a next stage. Um, and I've mentioned how what happens to me personally is that when I go through processing in the weeks or month, sometimes months, but it's usually a few weeks afterwards, I'm very fragile and susceptible. And so what and that all these other emotions bubble up and surface. You know, I might have intense pain or emotional and different flashbacks. So by unlocking or by letting go of something major, other memories emerge, which is can be both good or bad. So it can allow for um, positive memories to then reemerge, but it also can then bring up additional blocked memories that were associated with that particular event. And I did know that I did know that I was going to be vulnerable because I processed two things in one session, and what that meant was that I knew that in you know I had to deal with what was going to happen. And then so um, I had that negative. So what happened was is I got sort of re-triggered by separately to this situation with my friend. Separately, um, I had emotions and um, connective thoughts bubble up over the last week, and I managed them. They were uh, uneasy, and then yesterday it really got to me, and it was also probably associated with the fact that I hadn't slept. I got 2 hours sleep, and it was bad. It was uncomfortable sleep. So I reached out to the trauma counselor, which is a 7 days a week service, which is amazing. Through working hours, 7 days a week, I can call and I can get 45 minutes of counseling a week. So I can call twice a week if I need. But I try to use the service only when I need to, and make it as productive as possible. And what happened yesterday was amazing. So when I processed these traumas with my psychologist, it's like what I guess Pete Walker talks about in his book with anger therapy. And what I did was is I just let it. I just told the whole story from start to finish, and I explained what had affected me, what hurt me, and who were the people that had created this pain. And um, I, s- I, be- I was able to do have two traumas being processed in the same session because they were somewhat connected. They happened around the same time and they have similar themes. And then, so when I called a trauma counselor, and this was the most amazing counselor that I've experienced, she was so spot on with everything. And she just, she asked me she knew where I was. She asked me the questions and she knew where I was and what I need to, where I was. And she kept reminding me of, um, oh, she was present with me through. And basically when I called the counselor, I so when I had the trauma processing with the psychologist, I was angry and assertive, and I was prepared for it. I knew I'd had this booked in, and several weeks previously, I knew that I was going to be doing this, and then um, I was able to just go into exact detail of everything, and then and also apply my own assumptions about either motives or lack of other people's um, mistakes. My own reflection on it as well, which I did at the time. And then what happened when I was I'd been triggered through the week, and it sort of bubbled up. And on yesterday, I called a trauma counselor, and literally I only had to wait 30 seconds. It was amazing. Like when I called, and I'm there, I'm like, thinking it's going to be 5-10 minutes or whatever. And it was just like within 30 seconds, there was someone there, and they were the best, like they knew exactly how to help me through this. and I was crying the entire time. Like, I was just crying, like I had a pile of tissues on the ground at the end of it, and um, but I was still able to speak, like, and um, so this was this experience where I'd done the disclosure processing in in a formal setting, and then I listened back to the audio I recorded. I will do it again. I'll keep it, and I'll listen to it again. And it was, for me, this is something I testing out. I tested out for myself, and that's why I said, look, I want to do this so I can listen back to everything I said. And so after that psychologist appointment that night, I listened to it back, and then I had a long, deep sleep. So my insomnia was broken for a period, but then it came back again, obviously. And then yesterday, I had the same thing where, 9, 10 o'clock last night, I got to sleep, and I slept all through the night. And then I woke up. I didn't really get out of bed till midday today, close to midday. And I did have very strange dreams last night, but they weren't nightmares. But there was this amazing catharsis, let like all that crying. So it was crying therapy and letting and having that emotions out. And for me, for not being able, like, because of I had that period where I was on medication, I couldn't physically cry, and I couldn't feel and think, or everything was blunted, so I couldn't show emotions, and I couldn't express emotions. So in the last 6 months, when I started being able to cry again, that was such an amazing thing for me. And it was very difficult because I couldn't, like, there were so many times where I felt like I needed to cry and I just couldn't. But whenever it happened, it was the most release of all that pain inside. And so this, uh, it it was just such a perfect thing to. I had this idea yesterday. I was like, "That's right. I can call any day of the week. It's not just weekdays." And then um, I said to my dad, "Look, I'm just going to call my trauma counselor, and um, I'll see you in an hour or so." And everything she said was perfect, and she guided me through this, and she understood on such a deep level what it actually was, because it was all so complex. And the way I explained what I was personally going through, and how she was able to go, yes, this, and then this, and then, and so the first aspect of this processing was sort of anger therapy, where I was not aggressive, but I was really telling everything of what happened over this particular two events that were both, happen around the same time. That's why I put the two together. They had close connected themes, and I'm trying to do it on a budget. So it costs $250 to see a psychologist, and I'm trying to pay for it myself. I've had a lot of support where family have paid for therapy and psychologists, and I'm at a point where you know I can s- I can I can manage only going once every 6 weeks at the moment, and I can then manage to pay for it out of my own expense that I have. And then so I did the 2, and then a week and a day later, it got too much, and then I reached out and had the very most amazing, perfect person to speak to for 30 minutes. And I had a pile of tissues on the ground at the end of it. Like, I was just constant. I cried the entire time, and they were just like, but I was still able to speak. I was able to really speak coherently and like explain what I was going through. And while I was explaining what I was going through, the trauma counselor was there with me. And because they were so good at what they were doing, I'm close to tears now just thinking of this, because it was uh, so anyway, like, because I'm testing, because this is I'm I'm this was me testing out a method by recording it myself and listening back, and then I I think I've been able to let go of both of these things now, and even though it's still going to cause a bit of pain moving forward, like, I had compassionate people in both instances, but especially yesterday, like, really listened and guided me through this, and it was such a powerful thing. So if you have access to trauma counselors that you can call, see, and that's the beauty of it, is that you can't call your psychologist on the weekend, and I don't have the money to either. So um and I I consciously set up this thing where I was going to process 2 traumas, and I'd had weeks to prepare for it. And then I had then the I then had foreknowledge that there was going to be difficulties, but I didn't realize I was going to get triggered. And I did get triggered by through the week. And so then it built up over a few days, and then I reached out, and now I feel, and she was amazing. She was, because I said I was reading Body Keeps a Score, and how I was actually triggered by a couple of things in it. And she then went on about how, yes, it is stored in your body, and that, and I had this like amazing moment where it was like I could remember being consoled, and where I have sensitivity in my body now. And now I'm aware of these things, I can actually start to work on um, releasing these things, because I reach out if you've got services where you can do it, and you can, and that's one of the hardest things, when reading a book like Body Keeps the Score. I've just finished it 20 minutes ago. I'm at the appendix section now, so I've finished the book itself. um and it's such a great thing, not everyone, like, the not everyone has access to getting help, and that's why, like, I was on this journey myself for many years, trying to actually do the work myself, just because I wasn't getting it from necessarily getting any proper therapy from therapists. And reading a book where each chapter is about a specific whole field, like a whole field of research and therapy towards healing people. Most people don't have access to this stuff. And that's what was one of the saddest things in reading it, is that, and but this counseling service on Saturday is it's a free thing, and that's what's amazing. I I might read the last. So, spoiler alert. This is the last sentence is trauma is now the most urgent public health issue, and we have the knowledge necessary to respond effectively. The choice is ours to act on what we know. And that's like, it's not spoiling the book to read the last sentence of it, but that was just the most perfect. That's it. We are at a good time in the world where we've got research and we have people are sharing information freely. You've got in that book, it talks about all the different therapies, and at the almost very beginning of the book, he says, look, the best results come from people who do the work themselves, and that that getting specific treatment is actually out of reach. And that, so, we live at a time where we've got the internet. We can spend our time watching lectures, reading and talks, and if whatever therapy that you want to do, you can learn more about it through the internet, and then you can do it yourself. And so my thing is, and I've spoken about this before, is I used to do, because one of the therapies in the book, which is really profound, is theater and body movement, yoga, meditation, body movement. But I'm a very sort of, I could do theater, but I can't. It's too much for me. But the body movement thing. So, and I mentioned this before, that I used to do balancing. I used to practice the staff, which is like, Zen or Tai Chi, Qigong or whatever, like all whatever, basically twirling a stick around and going through motions and movements, because trauma is in the body. And now that this thing was unlocked, something happened yesterday when I spoke to this trauma counselor, where I was reminded of where particular trauma was stored and how it's stuck there, and I've got a way now to work on it, to get it to release it. So my my thing now is that now I've processed the major stuff. Any talk therapy will be trying to tie up loose ends type thing, if that makes sense. Not I don't need to go into detail anymore. So I've made it to a new point in my life, and I have let go of things, and I do know that they'll still keep coming back in certain ways. So what I know is I have to work on treating the body. I have to treat on the body. So I used to be very physically active with my work, and then in the last year, I've barely done any exercise, so I'm very unfit. So I'm gonna work on moving my body. I talked about the using the staff and spinning a staff around, like you're moving your whole body, and it's like dancing. So like dance therapy, it's just dancing, but you're using a tool for it. And so that will be something that I do over the next few months. I start this practice of, because I used to do it regularly, and it was really helping for me, and I need to get back to that because it was such a powerful thing. I mean, I've even got videos on YouTube somewhere of me doing this practice, standing there twirling staff. I'll find it. I'll find one and I'll show you. Just give me a minute. This is the beauty about doing this stuff live. I can actually just, um, yeah, this is a good one. So, obviously don't have to watch it now, but you can watch it and just listen to me if you want. But this is an example of what I used to do. And this was me getting up at watching the sunrise. So there's a link I just put in there. That's me doing this stuff. And so the videos too, it does show me smoking. So I actually removed all the videos I had up on YouTube when I used to smoke cannabis. And this one does show it. So, but cannabis helped me as a medicine for a long time. But I did remove all the videos that I showed me in doing that. But this one does have that. But it's an example. The link I just put there is an example of what I was doing as my own therapy. And so I'd, I'm trying everything out, and I had a friend, when I told my friend, I'm teaching myself how to swing the staff around and learn how to. They were like, "That's amazing! I did that. That helped me with my ADHD." And it was such an amazing thing, So because I can't do, the theater or the yoga, maybe this is the thing, and then I'll get back into that. So I'll put that link there just to remind me that I need to get back into it. I keep my staff in the ute so that if I ever go bushwalking, I've got my walk. It's a walking stick, It's a walking stick primarily, but I also use it as a tool to dance and coordinate the body. And so I guess when you have, for me, I freeze up, and this is what I, like, it's, liberating for me to dance. I feel, back when I was younger, we used to enjoy dancing to music playing on stage, and that was a great therapy as well, but I can't do that anymore. And so this is my dance, and I'll get back into it, you know. And that's why I'm sharing it with you all now, is that, it now I've got a responsibility to actually follow through with it, because in the last few weeks I became very like isolated. Like, I barely left the house in the last 3 weeks. I was getting out, watching the sunset twice a week. That was my self-care therapy, and recording it, and putting the videos on YouTube. But then haven't been able to do that. I'm going to get back to doing that now, this next week. Now I've gotten through all this. I'm going to, twice in the next week, I'm going to go spin the staff around, watching the sunset, listening to the birds, and it'll help me in so many ways. So thanks for hearing my introduction talk there. With that was basically, I went through a lot in the last few weeks and in the last few months, but especially I wanted to really explain what happened, where I did the initial processing with the psychologist, and I tested out a method, my own method of recording and then listening back, listening to my own voice tell the whole story. And when I did listen back, I could hear how much there was anger in me for what people had done. So it was good, but then it built up, and then I had the trauma counselor yesterday where I was crying and crying and crying, and then so this is amazing that this for me that this has allowed me to really let go and move on with these things. And I know I've got a lot of work to do, because my physical health, I haven't weighed myself recently, but the last time I weighed myself, I was 15 kilos heavier than I was last year, a year previous. And so I knew that I'd put on weight, and it's starting to slowly back off. And I can tell with my belt buckles, that's the big thing is on my belt buckle wear. So that's my big thing now for the next few weeks, is to get physically active again, and do the nature therapy, get back into that, and enjoy it. So I'm just trying to think of what else. That was really the main thing I wanted to talk about as my progress in the last. It was such a major thing. And I want to stress how difficult it is for all of us, because money is a factor. And like, what was the last few lines of Body Keeps the Score is saying, we have the knowledge now, and we have the system set up. We just need to get people to be able to access it. But the beauty of it is that you can do all this stuff yourself for nothing. Like, you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can do it. You can do mindfulness and meditations by watching YouTube videos. So you have to pay for the internet. You have to have a computer. You have to have electricity and stuff like that. But the actual thing itself is not like prohibitive because of the cost. So we do live like, you know, this was an amazing thing to finish this book today and be able to talk about this right now, you know, like, so. I'll I did hear some sounds upstairs, so I might have to, if I hear any more, I might have to disappear because Dad's not home, so I have to be on call. Loratis Quadrata says, "Keep pushing, brother." Thank you, brother. Thank you all for being here and listening to me, you know, express this stuff. Matthew says, Luke, I believe we have 3 things to do in this world: find our purpose, explore it, and share what we find. So keep doing what you're doing. That's the most amazing comment. 3 things. Find your purpose, explore it, and share what we find. That's Matthew Scotty. Thank you. I've only just joined the chat where it is, so like Babe, Red Rose says to Baby Stag again, your words came to me at the perfect moment. You get it. I didn't read what he had said, so and I'm not going to scroll back up through because I want to chat from now on. Like when I watch the replay, that's where I'll see what everyone was talking about. But like Loratis Quadrata says, dancing has been a cure for me. That's awesome. It is dancing is, and that's, you know, it is it's such a difficult thing though too. You know, like you have to be in an environment where you can dance. So some people do courses, you know, like join a dancing thing. You know, I have a friend that has just done that over the last 2 years, and I've seen that has been so amazing for her to do this. And they get up on stage. They actually, it's therapy, but it's also this is like the polyvagal, your vagus nerve, rebuilding and strengthening your nervous system and your nerves, and helping to let go of that trauma, you know, by shaking it out, by dancing and stuff. It's such an amazing thing. But for someone like me if it's the right band, if it's the right atmosphere, I can get up and and dance and shake, you know. But if it's you know, other times I'll feel self-conscious and other people are dancing and I just stand there listening to the music, you know. So um it dancing is such a great therapy, you know. And you can dance like if you go walking, and you can do this if you're walking in bush walking in nature. You can like add a dance element to your walking, you know, especially if you're walking up through creeks and things like that, where you got to dance, jump off rocks, you know, like you get into the flow of it. So you can working, you know, when I used to work doing building things and like landscaping and gardening, I would sort of I would be very intensive with the movements and I would like make a flow of it, you know, like, you know, when you're cutting things and you're trimming things and like, you know, you're picking up piles of rubbish like I would really get into it, you know. Matthew Scotty says, because clearly this sharing your story is and bringing people's resources that will help them. It is your purpose. That is beautiful. That's like that's how we get through it. Hey, you know, and not just how we get through it. That's what we should all share. You know, that's what you said before was such a powerful thing. So I'll tell you, um, when I was going through the last few years, and I was going through this slow mental breakdown, I'd got re-traumatized heavily, and I was going through this forgiveness process, which I was sort of working out I was making up how the rules worked as I was going along. And So what I was doing is I was giving extra, and I was specifically doing giving, and um, I felt like my life had changed, and I found myself. It's like doing like not shadow work, but it was like I had this realization, and I created my own rules for life, which is very similar to what you just said, and it was people, purpose, person. So people is do things for others when you can, as much as you can, help people. Purpose, make art your passion, what it is that gives you like nourishes you. Think for yourself. So have purpose. Uh, sorry, and person is that's continue self development and growth, and to put yourself first, or to keep remembering that your own growth and your own development is important. So they were the three things I came up with for myself: people, purpose, person. And so it sounds like Dad just got home, so I don't have to worry now. But look, I might have to just quickly check that was him, because I did hear sound upstairs. So bear with me for like a couple of minutes. I'll be very quick, and I'll just make sure Mum's okay. Yeah. Thanks for sticking around. If you like, um, it was mum. Dad's not home yet, and so that was the sound I heard was mum getting up. So I made her a cup of tea and got her dinner started. So this is difficult tonight because that's why I do it. It's Sunday nights. Usually I can do this and not have to worry. Um, but Dad's not here tonight, so um, but yes, Matthew, Scotty, that I love those comments you made. Um, Red Rose says Laratus Quadrata. Yeah, I read that book cover to cover. Body Keeps the Score. It's an amazing book. You know, I'm so glad I finally read it, and it's inspired me to give me ideas to work on things. It did trigger me in a few ways, but then I dealt with that by seeking help and um, Matthew Scotty says, "Love each and every one of you. Listen to you, Luke. He's amazing. I'll watch this after the fact twice." Oh, brother, such a lovely comment. Wavelength 42. How you going? Good to see you here. Um, I'm quite um, I'm quite far behind in the chat because of I got disrupted then, and I only just started. Um, and you know, I'm a little bit concerned. You know, maybe I should stop the stream and sit with mum, but I can hear if she gets up, she moves. I can. So if I do hear movement again, I'll be straight away up again. Um, so yeah, wavelength 42 says this is why we need to help each other. By doing so, we can support each other and get through. Also, we can build social development and community we may not have had. That is a beautiful comment, and that's exactly it. That's what I'm trying to do here, mate. You know, give us a place where we can have a conversation and like um, be comfortable and feel safe and share our experiences and what works for us and inspire each other is another thing that we do here. It's all these amazing things. So that's a beautiful comment. I really love what you said. Red Rose says, Matthew Scott, we love you too. Wavelength, Red Rose continues, wavelength 42, you're exactly right. Quadrata says to Matthew with the hearts. Red Rose says to Loratis Quadrata, yes, dancing, yes, me too. Dancing, that's a great thing. Dancing is such a powerful thing, and it's a difficult thing for people who are disconnected from dancing, but you can find another way, and that's why I talked about my staff, you know, using staff as a way of dancing, you know, and I do it alone in the bush where I don't feel self-conscious. And if someone sees me doing it, I don't care really. I've done it in a park recently, or not recently, in a park near me. It, okay, I think that was Dad home. Look, I've got to check. I can't not. I heard noise. I've got to check. And if it's Dad home, that means I can relax for the rest of the night. Sorry about that, but this is what happens. I'm in a caring role for my mother, and like that's why I do these streams on a Sunday, because usually Dad's home. Dad just got home, so I helped him with a few things, and then now I can relax. He's gonna sort out. I started getting dinner ready for Mum. He can sort it out from here. So I just have to just catch my breath. Wavelengths 42 says, I don't dance, but music does similar zoning, and singing helps to reset the vagus nerve. Also, yes, that's it. So I'm going to get back into doing chanting and stuff and humming, listening to music and humming along. You don't have to sing, but singing at different, any way of singing, like whether it's quiet or loud, it doesn't matter. It all helps, doesn't it? Red Rose says, y'all, I dug out my KC and Sunshine vinyl record today. Boogie Shoes, my favorite songs there. So dancing in boogie shoes. That's it. Find the stuff that you can dance to. INFJ Ultra Hair says wavelengths. What's zooning? Yeah, that's interesting. What is zooning? But like, it must be some form of dance routine. I'm behind in the chat, so it's probably been worked out by now. Red Rose, my boogie shoes. Loratus Quadratus says, I really just dance in my room. Sounds weird, but helps my inner child to express. No, man, that's awesome. You have your place. I go out into the bush to spin my staff around and dance around, walking around, like that's, you don't have to go to a nightclub. For some people, joining a dancing club and learning how to dance can be a therapy. So if you've got the money for it and you feel up for it, that could be something. Actually learning, to do a dance with a group. But it's not always, for me, that would be too much. I couldn't actually do that. That I'm too, I have too much anxiety for social and groups situations and that, but I can totally see where that would be a good thing. But you can just dance in your own bedroom. That's the beauty of that. How awesome is that? Wavelength 42 says you basically sing on the ooh vowel and add a z, so it's sort of like, okay, I would demo if I could. I just tried to do it myself, so I don't know if it works. But those ooh and zoo, that's like the chanting. That's I used to do Tibetan style chanting. I taught myself, listening and watching monks chant, and it's similar. They're very similar vowels, and so I think that's wavelength 42 responding to what INFJ Ultra Heyoka said. What's the zooning? So that's awesome. Soli's here. How you going, Soli? Good to see you here, mate. Red Rose, the living room is the perfect stage. That's awesome. That's it. I can just see it. You got the record player, you got the record playing, you're singing, you're dancing, like you're just letting it out. You're just like enjoying the moment, and you got no one to, if you're self-conscious. I'm very self-conscious, so I couldn't just go,